You think you know someone after 10 years of marriage, 2 kids, and countless shared moments. Until one night, you find a receipt in a coat pocket that splits your life into before and after, and realize you've only known half of your wife. Marriage isn't something that falls apart all at once. It slips, quietly, like a slow leak in the ceiling that you don't notice until water's dripping onto the dinner table. Claire and I, we were that couple. The kind who showed up to PTA meetings holding hands, who knew each other's coffee orders, who used to laugh about stupid things like whose turn it was to fold laundry. We were solid. At least, that's what I told myself. We met in college, her, a psychology major with this ridiculous curly hair and a laugh that made you feel like you'd done something truly clever. Me, a business student just trying to keep up. When she said yes to marrying me, I felt like I'd pulled off the biggest heist in history. She was way out of my league. Fast forward a decade and 2 kids later, and I'll admit, I got comfortable. Too comfortable. I worked late, stopped asking how her day was. We went from talking about dreams to talking about dinner and diaper sizes. That spark? It didn't fizzle out. It just got buried under routine. But Claire? She kept things together. PTO meetings, birthday parties, doctor's appointments. She was the glue. I saw it, I just didn't say it enough. Then one night, about a week after she got back from a work conference in Seattle, I was grabbing her coat to take to the cleaners. It was a little thing, but something felt off. The pockets were unusually stuffed. I figured it was receipts or maybe a lost toy from the kids. Instead, it was one receipt. Hotel Grand Shoreline. Room 814. One night. 2 guests. First, I didn't get it. Claire told me she stayed at the Hilton. She even showed me a picture of the view. This wasn't the Hilton. This was a place with complimentary wine and rose petals on the damn bed, listed right there on the receipt. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at it, my fingers trembling. Felt like someone else's life. Not mine. I didn't confront her right away. Couldn't. I walked around with that receipt burning a hole in my pocket, pretending like everything was normal. Helping the kids with homework, kissing her goodnight, making pancakes on Sunday. But I watched her closer. She laughed less. She stared at her phone more. She seemed distracted, like her body was here, but her mind was somewhere far away. One night I asked her how the conference went. Again. Just to see. She said it was fine. Busy, she added. Lots of breakout sessions. Her eyes didn't meet mine when she said it. That was when I knew something was broken, and maybe had been for a long time. I started digging. I don't say that proudly, but I did. Emails, texts, even her calendar. And that's when I saw the name, Ethan. I remembered him, vaguely. He was in a photo Claire had shown me once from her college days. The guy had one of those faces you couldn't tell was charming or dangerous. Maybe both. I wanted to believe they'd just reconnected. That maybe it was all innocent. But that receipt. A few nights later, I finally asked her, "Hey, did you run into anyone from school while you were at the conference?" Her body stiffened. "What do you mean?" "Just curious. Old friends. Anyone like Ethan?" She blinked, swallowed. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Actually, I did. Just briefly. We caught up at one of the dinners. That lie settled between us like a fog. And I didn't say a word. Just nodded and told her I was glad she got to catch up. But inside, something had cracked. And I was beginning to see that I'd only known half of my wife. There's a kind of quiet that hits your house when trust starts to die. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, like the creak in the floor you never noticed before, or how the hum of the fridge seems a little too sharp. After that first conversation about Ethan, things weren't the same. Claire was still Claire. She still packed the kids' lunches with their little notes. Still sat on the porch with a book after dinner. But I could tell something was off. The way she smiled didn't reach her eyes. The way she touched me was different, gentle but distant, like touching a memory instead of a person. I started paying attention to things I used to overlook. Her phone, once tossed casually on the kitchen counter, was now always screened down. She started going to bed early, locking herself in the bathroom for longer than usual. And when I'd ask, "Everything okay?" She'd smile that practice smile and say, "Just tired." But it wasn't just tired. And I wasn't just paranoid. One night, I stayed up late, sitting on the couch in the dark. I heard her come down the stairs around midnight, real quiet, like she was trying not to wake anyone. I stayed still, pretending to be asleep. She didn't see me as she walked into the kitchen, phone in hand, pacing. Her voice was low, but I could make out a name. Ethan. She wasn't crying. She wasn't angry. She was scared. Her words were scattered, like she was wrestling with herself. I caught fragments. "No, it's complicated. I don't know what to do. No, he hasn't said anything." Then silence. I didn't move. I couldn't. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might shake the walls. The next morning she acted like nothing happened. Made coffee, kissed the kids goodbye, asked me if I wanted anything from the store. I told her no. I didn't trust myself to say more. The next week felt like a waiting game I didn't know the rules to. I was drowning in questions. Who was Ethan to her, really? How far had this gone? Was it still going? And the biggest one, what the hell do I do now? I wasn't some hot-headed guy who jumped to conclusions. I wanted facts. I wanted to understand before I made a move. So I called in a favor. My buddy Darren from college was a PI now, mostly did insurance fraud and the occasional cheating spouse case. I hadn't talked to him in years, but desperate times make you reach for old ghosts. When I told him the basics, he didn't ask many questions. "Give me a couple days," he said. "You want answers? I'll get 'em." I felt sick after I hung up. Like I'd just opened a door I couldn't close again. That night, I looked at Claire sleeping beside me. She looked peaceful like she always did when the world was quiet. And I hated that I still loved her. Hated that even now, a part of me wanted all of this to be in my head. The next day, I got the call from Darren. "You were right," he said. "Ethan lives in Portland." But guess what? He was in town the same week Claire had that conference. I sat down, gripping the edge of the table. "You sure?" "Positive." Credit card trail puts him at the Grand Shoreline. Same night, same hotel. I even got a picture. "Want me to send it?" I paused. For half a second, I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to make it real? "Yeah," I said. The photo came through. It wasn't scandalous. Just two people walking out of a restaurant. Claire and Ethan. Her hand on his arm. His head tilted down toward her, smiling. It could have been innocent, sure. But my gut? It screamed otherwise. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the kitchen staring at that picture until the sun came up. And that's when something in me shifted. I wasn't going to play the clueless husband anymore. I was going to find out the whole truth even if it shattered everything. You ever look someone in the eye and realize you don't really know them anymore? That was Claire sitting across from me at the breakfast table, sipping coffee like she hadn't just rewritten the story of our marriage in secret. She was humming some tune under her breath, flipping through a parenting magazine like it was just another Tuesday. But for me, every breath felt like I was bracing for impact. I had the photo, the hotel receipt, the late-night whisper of her saying his name when she thought I was asleep. I had more than suspicion, I had confirmation. But I still didn't have a confession. That's what kept eating at me. I wanted her to say it, to look me in the eye and admit it, so at least I'd know she respected me enough to come clean. But Claire? She wasn't offering anything. She was playing house while the walls burned around us. I didn't bring it up that morning. I couldn't, not in front of the kids. But my mind was spinning like a storm. Every smile from her felt like a lie. Every word tasted fake. That night, after the kids were asleep, I decided to push. We were cleaning up the kitchen. I handed her a plate to dry and said, "Hey, you been thinking about Seattle much?" She hesitated, just for a beat, but then smiled. "Not really." "Why?" I kept my voice calm. "Just wondered if you caught up with any old friends. From college." She froze with the plate still in her hand. Just a flicker, but I caught it. "You already asked me that," she said, turning away to stack the dishes. "Right? You said you saw Ethan." Another pause. "Yeah," she said, keeping her back to me. "Just briefly. You two talk much?" She turned slowly. "Daniel, where's this coming from?" I shrugged. "I don't know. Just felt like more than a coincidence. You running into him like that." Claire's jaw clenched, and I could see the crack forming, just like glass under pressure. "He was at the same conference. We crossed paths. That's it." I pulled the receipt from my pocket and laid it on the counter. Hotel Grand Shoreline. Room 814. 2 guests. Her face drained of color. She stared at it like it was a ghost. And for a moment I thought she'd finally say the words. That she'd put down the lie and tell me the truth. My heart was pounding. I was ready to fall apart just to finally know. But instead, she looked at me, eyes wide, and whispered, "Where did you get that? Does it matter?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and I hated how much that still pulled at me. How even now, seeing her hurt made me want to fix it. "It wasn't what you think," she said. "Then tell me what it was." She opened her mouth, closed it, looked down. "I can't," she finally said. That was worse than a yes. She walked away, leaving me alone in the kitchen with nothing but the hum of the dishwasher and the sound of my own disappointment. The next few days were cold. Awkward. She avoided me like I was the one who did something wrong. We barely spoke outside of what was necessary for the kids. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get more surreal, I saw him. Ethan. In our town. I was pulling into the gas station when I noticed the car parked across from mine. He stepped out, sunglasses on, tan coat, looking like he belonged on a magazine cover. I didn't even think, I just stared. And then he turned. And he looked right at me. A flicker of recognition passed over his face. Not panic. Not fear. Just a calm, steady glance. Like he knew exactly who I was. Like maybe he'd been expecting this moment. He nodded once. And walked into the store. I sat there frozen, hands gripping the steering wheel like I was trying to stop the world from spinning off its axis. So this was real. He was here. Whatever happened in Seattle, it hadn't stayed there. I drove home in silence, hands trembling. When I got inside, Claire was at the sink, washing vegetables like she hadn't just detonated a grenade into our lives. I didn't say anything. Not yet. But I knew this wasn't over. Ethan wasn't just a memory. He was a threat. And something told me he wasn't leaving anytime soon. You can prepare yourself for a lot in life, bad news, hard conversations, loss, but nothing really gets you ready for watching your marriage unravel from the outside in. Especially not while the guy who helped light the match starts walking around your town like he belongs there. Ethan. I hadn't seen the man in over a decade. And yet, there he was getting gas down the road from my kid's school. Like it was just another day in his life, like he didn't just blow a hole through mine. After that gas station run-in, I started seeing him everywhere. At the local coffee shop. At the library. Once, even at the park where Claire took the kids on weekends. He wasn't hiding. If anything, he was making a point to be seen. I didn't say anything to Claire. Not at first. Maybe part of me wanted to see if she'd bring it up on her own. If she'd walk into the kitchen and say, "Daniel, we need to talk." But she didn't. Instead, she started acting strange. Her phone never left her side. She started going for walks in the evening. Walks she used to take with me back when we still talked about dreams instead of dishes. Now, she'd slip out quietly right after dinner and come back 40 minutes later like nothing happened. One night I followed her. I didn't want to, I needed to. My mind was a war zone of questions I couldn't silence anymore. She walked down the street, turned the corner by the little bookstore, then crossed over toward the east side of town. I stayed back, keeping my distance, ducking behind parked cars like some damn spy in a thriller movie. I felt ridiculous. Until I saw her stop. Right outside a small bench tucked away near the community center. And there he was. Ethan. Already sitting, already waiting. She didn't hug him. She didn't touch him. But the way she looked at him, that told me everything. You can tell a lot by how someone looks at a person. And the way Claire looked at Ethan? It was like he held some part of her she'd been trying to forget. I couldn't hear what they were saying. But I saw the tears. I saw her grab his hands. I saw him pull them away gently like he was saying goodbye. And then she turned and walked off alone. I ducked behind a tree as she passed, heart pounding so loud I was sure she'd hear it. She didn't. When I got home later, she was already in bed, pretending to sleep. And that was the night I realized this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about her choosing him. Not just once in some hotel room miles away. But here. Now. In this life we built together. And I couldn't keep pretending. The next morning I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and waited for her. She walked in wearing that same house robe she always wore when she was nervous. "We need to talk," I said. She froze. For a second, she looked like she might bolt. Instead, she sat across from me, eyes guarded. "You've seen him," I said. She didn't respond. "He's here, Claire. In our town." A long silence passed between us, thick enough to drown in. She finally nodded. "I know." That broke me a little. "You knew and didn't tell me?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I was going to. I didn't know how." I pushed the coffee mug aside. My hands were shaking. "So tell me now." She looked away. Out the window. Anywhere but at me. "He didn't come here for me. I didn't ask him to. He said he just wanted to see me one last time. To say goodbye." "Claire?" I said. My voice barely steady. Did you love him? Her answer came so quietly I almost missed it. I think I always did. I sat back like she'd hit me. I didn't mean to fall back into it, she whispered. It was just one night, but it brought back everything. All the years. All the what-ifs. And then I found out I was pregnant, and… She stopped. I blinked. Pregnant. Her lips trembled. I didn't tell you because I didn't know who. I stood up so fast the chair skidded back with a screech. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing now, raw and real. And me? I just stood there, because I thought betrayal had a face. I thought it was a hotel receipt, or a whispered name, or a long walk in the dark. I didn't know it looked like this. When you hear the woman you've spent half your life with say she's pregnant, and that she doesn't know if it's yours, something in you stops. Not just your heart, not just your thoughts, everything. It's like your body forgets how to move, how to feel. You're just frozen there in a moment that suddenly redefines everything before and after it. That was me in the kitchen that morning. Claire sitting across from me, sobbing into her hands. Me standing, staring at her like I didn't recognize her anymore. And maybe I didn't. Or maybe this was the real Claire, and I just never looked close enough. Pregnant. Could be mine. Could be his. I didn't say a word. Couldn't. My voice felt like gravel in my throat, and every breath I took was just to keep from completely falling apart. How far along? I finally managed to ask. 8 weeks, she whispered. I did the math. Conference in Seattle 6 weeks ago. It was possible. Possible it was mine. But now that seed of doubt was planted, and nothing in the world could pull it out. Why didn't you tell me? I said, not shouting, just quiet, hurt. She wiped at her eyes. Because I knew what it would mean. I knew what I'd done. You should have told me the second you found out. I was scared, she said, voice cracking. Scared it would destroy everything. Well, I said, stepping away from the table. Mission accomplished. I walked out of the kitchen before I said something I couldn't take back. I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just walked out the back door, into the yard, into the freezing wind, trying to feel anything besides what I was feeling. I don't remember how long I stood out there, but the sun had started rising before I came back in. Claire hadn't moved. Same robe, same broken look in her eyes. We need a paternity test, I said. She nodded like she expected it, like maybe she even welcomed it. I didn't sleep that night, or the one after. We scheduled the test for the following week. Until then, we danced around each other like ghosts in the same house. The kids didn't know anything. We made sure of that. We still packed lunches, still took them to school, still read bedtime stories. But once they were asleep, we went back to silence. I couldn't look at her without hearing her voice. I think I always did. Those 6 words haunted me, echoed in every corner of the house. I didn't know what was worse, her betrayal, or the thought that I might have just been a stand-in all these years. A placeholder for the man who really held her heart. And what tore me up the most? I wasn't even sure I hated her. That was the real kick in the gut. Because I remembered every version of us. The early days when we used to fall asleep talking about baby names. The time we danced barefoot in the living room with the kids asleep upstairs. The years we survived together. Money tight, nerves frayed, but never walking away. She gave me everything. Except honesty. And now I didn't know if I was about to be a father again, or just the guy raising someone else's child. The morning of the test, we drove to the clinic in silence. Claire looked pale. I probably did too. We didn't hold hands. We didn't even sit close in the waiting room. I watched her sign the paperwork. I signed mine. The nurse took our blood. And then we left. That night, Ethan showed up at my house. No warning. No call. Just there. I opened the front door and found him standing on my porch like he belonged. He raised his hands. I'm not here to cause trouble. You've already caused enough. I know, he said. I just need 10 minutes. Then I'll be gone for good. I should have slammed the door in his face. Should have told him to take his 10 minutes and shove them. But I didn't, because I needed something too, answers, truth. So I let him in. He stepped inside, looked around like he was taking it all in, the photos on the wall, the toys in the corner, the life that wasn't his. "You have a beautiful family," he said. "Yeah," I muttered. "What's left of it?" He didn't argue. Just nodded. "I didn't come here to wreck things, Daniel," he said, looking me dead in the eye. "Claire didn't ask me to. I didn't even plan to see her. I just couldn't let it end the way it did. We had history. You know how that goes." I clenched my jaw. History doesn't give you the right to come into someone's life and light it on fire. I know. And I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to tell you this, face to face, if that child is mine, I won't fight you. I won't get in the way. I won't even be around unless she asks me to be. I'm not here to take anything from you. I didn't know whether to punch him or thank him. Instead, I asked, "Why now?" He sighed. "Because you can only run from unfinished business for so long." Then he nodded, turned, and walked out the door. And I was left standing there, heart heavy, future uncertain, wondering which man would be handed the title of father. Funny how a single envelope can feel like it weighs 1,000 pounds. No one tells you that. It's just paper. Just ink. But when that paper holds the truth about everything you thought your life was built on, it might as well be made of stone. Claire handed it to me the moment I walked in the door. The results. She didn't say a word. Just gave me a small nod, her hands trembling as she passed it over. The kids were at my sister's for the weekend. We'd agreed they wouldn't be around when the truth came. I took the envelope and sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where I first laid down that hotel receipt. The same one where our daughter learned to spell her name in crayon. Where we'd celebrated birthdays. Argued. Cried. Laughed. Loved. And now this. I stared at the flap for what felt like forever. My hands were shaking. I was scared. I'll admit that. Not just of what it would say, but what I would do with it once I knew. Finally, I opened it. The results were clear. The child was mine. I sat there for a long time, not feeling relief, not really. Just silence. A numb kind of silence that settled in my chest like dust. Claire was standing across the room, watching me, her eyes red but dry now. She knew I'd read it. Knew what it meant. I looked up. "It's mine." She nodded slowly. "I know. I waited for something else. An apology. A plea. Anything." But all she said was, "I'm so sorry, Daniel." It didn't fix anything. But it was real. And at least it was finally honest. We didn't speak much that night. We didn't fight. We didn't touch. We just existed in the same space, two people who'd once built a life together now staring at the ruins of it. I slept in the guest room again. But I didn't sleep much. That next morning, I sat with a cup of coffee watching the sun come up through the window. Claire came downstairs, barefoot, quiet, like she didn't know if she belonged in her own home anymore. "I don't want to keep lying," she said softly. "To you. To the kids. To myself." I nodded. "Then don't." She sat across from me, folded her hands. "Do you still want this?" That was the question, wasn't it? Did I still want this marriage? Did I still want the version of Claire that now stood in front of me, flawed, broken, guilt-ridden, but real? I looked at her. And I remembered the girl I fell in love with. The woman who gave me 2 children. The partner who once held me when I lost my job, who cried with me the night our youngest was born, who laughed with me under blankets in the middle of winter when the power went out. I also remembered the woman who lied. Who betrayed me. Who chose someone else when things got hard. "I don't know," I said. "Not yet." That was the truth. And for once, that was enough. We decided to take time. Real time. Separate therapy. No pretending. No rushing to put the pieces back just because they used to fit. We told the kids, gently, carefully, only what they needed to know, that Mom and Dad needed space, but we both loved them, always would. Ethan left town the same week. True to his word, he never came back. Never called. Months passed. Spring rolled into summer. I started healing. Slowly. Claire did too, in her own way. We co-parented. We coexisted. We talked more than we had in years, but it was different now. Honest. Stripped down. Some nights we sat on the porch together, quiet, watching the kids play in the yard. And in those moments, there was a kind of peace. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But understanding. One night, she asked me if I still loved her. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, "I love what we were. I love what we had. And I love the mother you were to our kids. But loving someone doesn't mean forgetting everything they did." She nodded. "I don't expect you to." And I think that was the first time we were really on the same page. We're still working on things. Some days are easier than others. Some days, I still look at her and wonder how we got here. Other days, I catch her humming while she's cooking and it feels like home again. For a minute. But we're not rushing, because rebuilding something real takes more than time. Takes truth. Takes pain. It takes both people willing to stand in the wreckage and say, we can start over, but not by pretending this never happened. So that's where we are. Not fixed. Not broken. Just real. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like something worth holding on to.